Hi everyone, my name is Farhad Karamally and I was supposed to be here with Michael Morgan. Interestingly enough, there are some internet challenges going on at the end. So, what we will do is, in the interest of time, because you are here, I will start off. Fortunately for me, I have Michael's slide, although I don't have his permission right now as I speak with you to use the slides. But now that I have it and it was the time and you are here, Michael, I am using your slides and moving forward with what we had agreed upon. The good thing is that we had practiced it, we knew exactly what the theme was, and I'll use my certified practitioner insights into the entire process. So we actually get to understand how does uncertainty work and all of the stories around it. In the middle, however, you may feel that I'm going to my mobile, I'm checking. I'm just want to make sure in case he calls or something happens, then I can respond to him immediately and have him online as soon as possible. One of the reasons for that being we love his analogies. Last time that he was here, his analogies, his metaphors was something that people really got engaged in. They loved his interaction. They loved the sense of humor, the wittiness that he brought in. So yeah, that is probably what we'll see. And the reason I asked is, have you ever been stuck in traffic? And you know how it feels when you're stuck in traffic and you don't have anything to do and you're there, and you're trying to figure it out. You know what happened, how can it be improved, and then you start thinking, okay, what's the reason behind the traffic, and then you're trying to look left and right. Probably the most obvious cause being somebody from the officials trying to manipulate the traffic, putting the traffic lights off, or there could be some, in our case, a VIP movement. And if nothing else, then you'd probably find that there's just a lot of traffic for whatever reason, an occasion, a festival, a situation. And this is actually what's happening to internet globally, if you think about. And there's so many things happening at the same time, and then there are the webinars, and there are webisodes, and then there are uh, meetings that are happening continuously, and people have to be on the screen most of the time. So I think it's a challenge even for the internet to be able to sustain that kind of pain in communicating and driving the message across. So, as I said, we will start the session. The topic is what causes traffic. So, what it means, traffic pollution or traffic jam. Traffic pollution. That's interesting. अच्छा, what I'll also be doing is on and off. I'll also be looking at the comments. क्योंकि अब माइकल यहाँ पे नहीं है, so I will keep it bilingual. Would that work with most of you? तो मैं उर्दू इंग्लिश का मिक्सचर करके, वो अक्सर मैं एक और वेबिनार आ रहा है मेरा, वहाँ पे मैंने यही कहा, they said, I said इंग्लिश चाहिए, उर्दू चाहिए, bilingual चाहिए. He said our audience is primarily they'll understand in English है देसी, लेकिन अंग्रेजी में बात करनी है. मैंने कहा कोई बात नहीं, then I'll stick to English, but you know that sometimes you need to put the tarka, and tarka is very desi because we eat spicy food. So what I will be doing is I will be putting in some tarka in Urdu, even if if and when Michael comes online. I just hope he does come online soon. He can be able to connect uh, so that we can all see what he has to offer. So let me get into right from the beginning of uncertainty. Uh, if you notice, as a general rule of thumb, most of our interventions at FundWorks, we've not really been pushing too much of COVID 19. We've not been pushing a lot of these coronavirus, this difficult times, crisis. And reason for that is because we feel these are just the times of uncertainty. We need to be able to understand and decode the uncertainty to the best of our ability. Obviously, nobody has 100% answers, but then whoever had 100% answers ever, nobody really had those 100% answers. So, all in all, what it requires us to do is to actually understand how this entire process works, and that's the process journey that I will be taking you through this. Let me start sharing the screen so you can be able to see my slides as well. Okay, so I think I should be able to go into the subject from now. Acha, in case you see me sometimes going back and forth on the slides, this is just for you to understand that probably what has happened is I have uh, I just need to make sure what was supposed to come, and I'm there accordingly. Let's look at uncertainty as a concept. But what comes to your mind when you're thinking of uncertainty? There are probably lots of things that are coming to your mind in the context of uncertainty, how things are going forward, what people are doing. Um, and it's also become like a buzzword, and a lot of people want to add more life to it, the VUCA world and how things are going to change. And it's just like, what's very interesting is everybody seems to give a sense that they know exactly what's going on, and this is what the solution is. Interestingly, the solutions vary. The solutions vary because everybody thinks very, very differently. However, there is a mechanism, and there's an understanding of how the thinking works. I'm about to put you into a quiz very quickly. Okay, and those of you who've seen, there's no cheating. Okay, don't put out the answers immediately. I'm going to flash the screen for about 3 seconds. I'll flash the screen for 3 seconds, and I need you to tell me how many dots do you see. Okay, so I just want to very quickly count the dots, and I'll give you exactly 3 seconds. Done. So, how many dots did you see? So, how many dots did you see? Let's just see. How many dots did you see? Okay, more. How it will pan out? Yes, Zahid bhai sahi keh rahe hain. 35 is a good number. Couldn't count. ठीक है. Anybody else? Just throw. Oh my God, I just counted 10, but there were many. Yes, and all. Just guess 40. Yes, you could throw the guesses. You knew what the screen looked like, so you could throw in a guess. 18. ठीक है. मैं जब तक जरा माइकल भाई को फोन कर लूं. 28. 48. वाओ. हाँ, वो कभी कभी लगता है बहुत सारा आ गया ना. एंड अगर देखा जाए, यही अनसर्टेनिटी में होती है कि छोटी सी चीज भी फुफ करके मुंह पे आती है, एंड वी लाइक, डैम, इतने सारे, ये कहाँ से आ गए, इतनी इतनी मुसीबतें कहाँ से आ जाती है. एंड आई एम श्योर वी ऑल हैड डेज जहाँ पे हम कहते हैं कि यार, ये कहाँ से उतरा था बिस्तर से, ये आज ही होना था, ये मसला क्या, ये व्हाई आर वी एक्चुअली गोइंग थ्रू दिस, सो देयर आर अ लॉट ऑफ दीस क्वेश्चंस दैट पीपल go through regularly. Let's see now. My guess is you'll probably find a much more easier one right now. When I show it to you now, it will probably be a little easier. Okay. And yeah, okay. So this is my screen that you see. Let me very quickly go on to this. और ये नीचे नीचे देख लिया. तो यहाँ पे देखिए, ये आप लोग को जरा मुश्किल हुई थी थोड़ी देर शायद आपको देखने में कि ये एग्जैक्टली कितने हैं. However, when you put it out like this, you notice, simple, isn't it? 3 seconds, 25. So basically, what this does is it's an organizing principle. It's how you organize things. So while there's really a lot of things happening outside, that a lot of outside is also impacting our inside. And a lot of people are going through a lot of these frustrations and thoughts and ideas and pressures, and then they're trying to make sense of it. And sometimes you magnify the disaster, sometimes you minimize the disaster, and there's a lot of things basically happening. And what HBDI does is it gives sense to that thinking process. It helps you organize it. ताकि समझ में आ जाता है कि है क्या. So what we'll be doing today is, आज मैं आपको very quickly I'll take you through the concept of HBDI. Then I'll take you through a little exercise. I want you to reflect upon कि आपका style किस तरीके, आपका thinking pattern किस तरीके का है. After which I'll also share with you, and this is through research, and Michael's team has been doing a lot of research on this. I think for quite a while. I think March की कोई अर्ली मार्च से मेरे पास उनका डेटा आना शुरू हो गया था कि किस तरीके से. एंड व्हाट इज ब्यूटीफुल, इट इज स्पॉट ऑन इन टर्म्स ऑफ असेसमेंट, एंड आई टेक यू थ्रू दैट, एंड शायद आपको भी नजर आ जाए, अच्छा ये मैं कर रहा हूँ. देखिए, ये जितनी भी हम चीजें करते हैं, मैं कहता हूँ ऑर्गेनाइजिंग प्रिंसिपल, सफाई करने का तरीका है. If you clean things up, you're able to clearly see what's happening. It's like defogging yourself. And HBDI is one of those most powerful tools that helps you defog how you're thinking, so that you can make best utility of this great computer that you have right up here, with a very pure operating system. A pure operating system is another program altogether. That's when we speak of the releasing technique. लेकिन इसको खाली देख लेंगे इसको सही तरीके से इस्तेमाल किस तरीके से करना है. So this is broadly where we are. Let me quickly take you through what these are. So अगर आप देख रहे हैं, ये 4 quadrants हैं. This is what the organizing principle is. The organizing principle is that it takes your brain, whole brain model इसको इसलिए कहते हैं, and there are 4 quadrants. So there's one on the left, top, bottom left, bottom right, and top right. I'll start off with A, B, C, D. ये जो आप देख रहे हैं, ये जो थिंकिंग पैटर्न होता है, ये वो लोग होता है जिनको जोर नहीं लगाना पड़ता व्हेन दे डूइंग लॉजिकल थिंकिंग, एनालिटिकल, फैक्ट बेस्ड, क्वांटिटेटिव, नंबर्स यूं समझ में आ जाते हैं। आप देखिए कुछ लोगों को नंबर समझ में नहीं आते, और कुछ लोगों को नंबर समझ दिमाग में रह जाते हैं, याद भी रह जाते हैं, एंड दे प्रीटी गुड विद नंबर्स, एंड दे वेरी लॉजिकल, यू नो, दे बेस्ट एबल टू कनेक्ट द डॉट्स, दे एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड ये हुआ, ए हुआ है तो उसके बाद बी होना है, बी के बाद सी होना है, सी के बाद डी होना है। एनालिसिस बहुत अच्छी है। और कुछ लोगों को देखो नंबर देखने के साथ ही लोग गुम हो जाते हैं, भाई ये क्या दिखा दिया मुझे। कुछ लोग बीमारी का भी नाम दे देते हैं इसको, बट व्हाट्स इंटरेस्टिंग इज दे आर नॉट नेसेसरली बीमारियां। दिस इज हाउ द थिंकिंग पैटर्न इज, एंड एचबीडीआई क्या करता है, सिर्फ आप, एंड इट्स अ थिंकिंग प्रेफरेंस, इट्स नॉट अ पर्सनैलिटी टाइप। और इसके काफ़ी इन्फ्लुएंसेस भी होते हैं, हमारी एजुकेशन, हमारे हॉबीज, हमारे शौक, वो काफ़ी चीज़ें इन्फ्लुएंस करते हैं इन द वे दैट वी स्टार्ट थिंकिंग. So you could either be more tilted towards the blue brain, tilted towards. I think there's a call. I'll just put you on hold. Let's say I'll just hope it's him. Hello, hello. No, I think this is very much us. And then you have the blue brain, which is organized. Sorry, the green brain, organized, sequential plan, detailed. हर चीज की नुक्ताचीनी करते हैं, कैसे करेंगे, इसके बाद क्या करेंगे. इनको फ्लो चार्ट्स का बेसिकली बड़ा शौक होता है. I'll take it one step on the right hand side, bottom right hand side. आप देख रहे हैं interpersonal, feeling based, kinesthetic, emotional, very people oriented, relational in their approaches. Empathy इनकी बहुत high होती है, समझते हैं कि क्या क्या तरीका है. पिछले दफा जब सेशन हुआ था, somebody asked Michael कि if I'm a red brain kind of a person, I have empathy and I try to understand, but the green and blue people don't understand. They can, that's where the beauty of HBDI comes in. If they don't understand, it is not that they don't have empathy. It's just that it's not their preferred way of thinking. It just doesn't come very naturally to them. And then you have the holistic, which is ऊपर आई, and these are like the experiential type. इनको try करना अच्छा लगता है, experiment करना अच्छा लगता है, discover करना अच्छा लगता है. So this is what the organizing principle is. So जो भी आपकी सोच होंगे, तो मैं ये भी कर सकता हूँ, 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 कर सकते हो, थोड़ा उसको प्लेस कर दो. जब आप प्लेस कर देते हैं, आप बेहतर तौर पे समझ सकते हैं हाउ टू बेस्ट यूटिलाइज and benefit from the way I think. What I'll do is, I think this is just the right time. Let me share with you, for example, मैं कैसे सोचता हूँ. This, and forget the code for the time being. This is, for example, my profile. For those of you who know me, would possibly be able to relate to this as well. Or इसमें अगर आप देख रहे हैं, I am more tilted towards the right hand side than the left hand side, and we've all heard the left brain and the right brain. So left brain जो आप देख रहे हैं मेरा, वो मैं हूँ 32% मेरा लेफ्ट ब्रेन सोचता हूँ, 68% ऑफ द टाइम मैं राइट ब्रेन में चल रहा होता हूँ. और people and ideas and new things, they just fascinate me. Interestingly, I have a finance background and I've always been good with in finance. इसका ये मतलब नहीं है कि देखें कि मैं लॉजिकल नहीं हूँ. जब ये आया था, and my immediate response was, I said, hang on, I'm a finance person, I understand numbers. How can my blue be so low? मजे की बात ये, कंपैरिजन के अंदर जो है ये थोड़ा सा कम आया है, बट अदरवाइज इट इज नॉट रियली कम. सो इट इज जस्ट हाउ इन कंपैरिजन. और वाकई में मुझे अगर क्रिएटिव आइडियाज में डाला जाए, वो मैं ज्यादा एंजॉय करता हूँ बनस्बत नंबर्स के पीछे छुपना, छोटी छोटी चीजें करना, एंड लोगों के साथ बात करना. तो दोज ऑफ यू नो मी वुड प्रोबब्ली विल से, हाँ यार देखो ये सही. कुछ लोगों का ये भी है कि कम है, एंड हमारा जहन फ्रंट ब्रेन भी होता है, लोअर बैक भी होता है. ये भी है 54% एंड 46%. अब इससे फायदा क्या हुआ, जब ये हुआ तो मुझे समझ में आ गया कि लेकिन दिस इज हाउ आई एक्चुअली थिंक and what happens, and how best to utilize me. For example, then we got our team members also doing it. So I discovered some of my team members are very high blue and green. We got together when projects had to be done. कि अच्छा ये ऐसे सोचते हैं तो इस तरीके से करना चाहिए. So we actually ended up discussing with each other and understanding कि किस तरीके से ज़्यादा आ सकता. तो there's a project that me and one of my colleagues did, and this was in Oman. My colleague, if he's listening to this, he'll probably remember this. हुआ ये था, वो काफ़ी सारी रिपोर्ट्स हमें जनरेट करनी थी. अच्छा भाई का काम तो आपको समझ में आता है. आई एम राइट ब्रेन, आई कम अप विद आइडियाज, आई कम अप विद इमीडिएट सॉल्यूशंस कि क्या करना चाहिए, कैसे करना चाहिए, करके कर लिया. अब उसको पूरा बैठ के लिखना, तरतीब करना. सो my colleague helped me out significantly with that. Now, the advantage of having this knowledge, the advantage of having this knowledge is to actually understand how best to utilize and complement each other's strength. जिसको कहते हैं diversity of thought. So that diversity of thought needs to be appreciated, because while many people say we want diversity, they want cloned thinking. If you think differently from me, then you're not right. जबकि these are all just thinking patterns. एंड मजे की बात ये, आई एम जस्ट मूविंग माय माउस. ऐसा नहीं कि मैं ये नहीं कर सकता, लेकिन ये जब मुझसे ज्यादा करवाओगे ना, इट्स लाइक रोइंग अ बोट. मुझे मेहनत ज्यादा लगती है, मैं कर सकता हूँ. और इसीलिए कुछ लोग जो अपने काम में खुश नहीं होते, कई दफा ये भी हो सकता है मे बी दे जस्ट नॉट वर्किंग इन द राइट प्रोफेशन. एंड देयर सम केसेस दैट वी हैव सीन थ्रू द एचबीडीआई कि जहाँ पे बंदा खुश नहीं था, एक्चुअली जिस रोल में उसको डाला गया था वो उसके लिए था ही नहीं। वो जान छुड़ाता था, काम नहीं करता था। और या इन अनदर वर्ड, वो वर्क था, परफॉर्मेंस नहीं थी। And the reason was because it just didn't come very naturally to them. So they were struggling to make it happen. The minute you identify um, a specific role for a specific thinking pattern, you see magic happening, because then you don't have to force them, you don't have to motivate them. It's inspiration, it happens by itself. So this is basically what the magic of this one is, and this is right up in front of you on the screen. If I just very quickly go back here. Okay, interesting. And I did have the screen. Okay, chale, let me try this once again. I hope that you can see it. It's interesting, but I can also see only one thing at a time. Interesting how this technology gives us the challenge. Can't see slides. Chale, okay, I'll very quickly breeze through the slides with you so you can see the slides as well. Yes, it's an option. I can either show this or I can show that. Okay. Um, yeah. Now I think you can see my slides. And what I will do is I'll have the messages open on my YouTube. So if in case you see you have comments, so this is basically, as I said, the organizing principle. Um, और मैंने अपना जहन का बता दिया कि आई एम वेरी राइट ब्रेन. अच्छा, राइट ब्रेन के साथ साथ ये भी है दैट आई एम व्हेन यू पुट मी अंडर प्रेशर आई गो एक्सट्रीम क्रिएटिव, एंड ऑर्गेनाइजिंग मेरी बिल्कुल जिल्च हो जाती है, एंड आई विल शो दैट लेटर ऑन एज वी मूव फॉरवर्ड. सो पीपल अलग अलग होते हैं, उनकी अलग अलग सोच होती है. आई विल ब्रीज थ्रू दिस. इंडस्ट्रीज के अंदर भी अलग अलग होते हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल, इस इंडस्ट्री के अंदर ज्यादातर लोग जो आपके साथ जो होते हैं, banks and IT and finance, they are generally suited for logic. And there's a lot of research which actually proves and validates this. So I'll not go into the detail of this. But what we will be doing is, हाँ, okay, इसको बोलो मैसेज डाल दे. अच्छा, आप देख लो. um, we just need to make sure. अभी हो रही है स्लाइड शो, जरा चेक कर लेना प्लीज. अभी इस वक्त भी नहीं हो रही है, जो मेरे हिसाब से इस वक्त तो हो रही है. Interesting now how amazing technology can be sometimes. You guys still can't see the slides, which is very interesting. I wonder why. Hmm. Okay. Okay. Let me see. It's interesting, yeah. आज टेक्नोलॉजी ने बहुत धोखा दिया है हमें मजेदार तरीके से. Okay, कुछ हुआ यहाँ पे, कुछ हुआ. Okay. Let me go into the slides. अब आ रही हैं स्लाइड्स? आप जरा चेक कर रहे हो स्लाइड्स आ रही हैं? ओके, चलें ठीक है. अब जरा देख लें, अब आ रही हैं? अच्छा, ठीक है. Okay, good. So now I actually have this right in front of me. So this is what you have. So you can see कि आपका tilt जो है वो किस तरफ ज्यादा आ रहा है, एंड अलग अलग लोगों के अलग अलग टाइम पे जो है वो tilts होते हैं. Okay, there's a little bit of lagging also happening. Let me see what you are seeing. Okay, I hope you're able to see this. A lot of lagging happening on this one. So anyway, um, कहते हैं ना, मतलब ये आज के दिन ही होना था वैसे, but we were all just so excited. कुछ आया आपके पास, अब आया है. एनिमेशन में कर ही लेता हूँ, एनिमेशन कर लेता हूँ मैं थोड़ी सी कम. Now, this is an organizing principle, as you can see from your end, कि ब्लू थिंकिंग वाले लोग जनरली किस इंडस्ट्री में होते हैं, ग्रीन वाले किस में होते हैं, रेड वाले किस में होते हैं, एंड येलो वाले किस में. नाउ इमेजिन कि अगर आपने किसी ग्रीन थिंकिंग प्रेफरेंस वाले बंदे को, अगर आपको ये नजर आ रहा है कि जो उनकी कारकर्दगी अच्छी नहीं है, एंड यू पुट देम इनटू समथिंग एल्स, व्हाट वुड हैपन. सिमिलरली एंटरटेनमेंट में जो लोग होते हैं, न्यूज बताने वाले जो लोग होते हैं, न्यूज रिपोर्टर्स जो होते हैं, दे आइडियल फॉर, दे प्रॉब्ली हैव अ स्ट्रांग ब्लू थिंकिंग पर्सन. अब एक ऐसे बंदे को जो कि फॉर एग्जांपल अगर आप देखेंगे उनकी अगर रेड थिंकिंग प्रेफरेंस है, उनको अगर आप ब्लू में डाल देंगे, व्हाट विल एक्चुअली हैपन. और खासतौर से उस डिपार्टमेंट सब इसी तरीके के लोग हैं तो क्या होगा उसके साथ. सो अ लॉट ऑफ इट एक्चुअली डिपेंड्स इन अंडरस्टैंडिंग. समटाइम्स इट्स वेरी इजी टू अक्यूज पीपल ऑफ नॉट परफॉर्मिंग, जबकि देखने की जरूरत है कि इट इज नॉट दैट दे आर नॉट परफॉर्मिंग, बट इट इज एक्चुअली we've not been able to identify and utilize the strengths that the person is bringing in into the organization, and that's what HBDI can basically do. एंड ये इनके ऑर्गेनाइजिंग प्रिंसिपल फॉर बिजनेस, अगर आप देखें, ये चारों चीजें आपको बिजनेस के अंदर बहुत जरूरी होती हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल, इसके अंदर अगर आप देख रहे हैं, रिजल्ट्स आर क्रिटिकल, दैट्स द ब्लू थिंकिंग. You also need to have the process, green thinking look. So let's say if you're working on SOPs, and there are a lot of examples and case studies of people that work on the green thinking. फिर अगर आप देख रहे हैं, Michael is here. Michael, how are you?
I'm good. Sorry about that. The plane was delayed.
I understand. And by the way, I tried to start off, and I tried to do as much as I can. And there are a lot of people over here watching, and I was trying. My yellow pressure hit the boundaries right now, and I completely lost my green. And I tried to make as much sense of it as I could, in this all this surprise effort in the process. So
So
I'll just stop the screen.
I
Right.
owe you a big apology.
No issues. We can understand, and I think that's. I think it's a classic situation, considering the topic is uncertainty.
I'm sure it says 7 o'clock my
Yes.
time.
Yes.
Where are we? There we go.
Right.
I'm terribly sorry.
No issues at all.
I thought I was half an hour early, but I'm
No,
actually half an hour late.
no issues. I think it's great that you're here. By the way, without your permission, I did acknowledge online as well that without your permission, I started working on your slides. So I've done the I've done the organized principle. I was just explaining the brain, and I was struggling between a lot of things, including technological change challenges, trying to call you up. As I said, my yellow brain was at its peak. And fortunately, I'm a yellow brain. Otherwise, for the benefit of others, I would have freaked out if I was a green tilted person with very little red. I would have probably not even switched on the camera. Sorry, can't help it. Not my fault. This is internet. But yeah, Michael, thank you very much. But the good thing is that you're also yellow tilted. So what I'll do now is I'll go at ease with myself. I will put you on with the slides, and you could build on it, and you could go a little quick perhaps, so that we could go into the other areas. So that we can very quickly go into the details. So I'll very quickly just do the screen share peacefully. Okay. So this is where the screen share goes. And I will remove myself.
Hello. Chat with the hosts.
Yes, Michael.
Ah, you're back.
Yeah. Okay. So we are sharing
Sorry.
the screen.
Yes.
This is the screen. Yes, this is where we are.
Okay. So, where had you got to? You were explaining the different characteristics of the whole brain model.
Yes, I was. And this is where I was. I just started
Okay.
this. You just want to touch on this little bit and we'll breeze through the others. I had actually shared this. I had shared what you see on your screen right now.
Ah, okay. So you shared the first one. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, everybody, and I I apologize for arriving late, and also for the I guess the internet. We used to have the most terrible traffic jams in Sydney, cars bumper to bumper on the roads and everything else. Now the roads are empty, but the internet is bumper to bumper to bumper. And so the internet is very slow. So yeah, I apologize for that. What I don't apologize for is this concept of the organizing principle. The author of this whole brain thinking, Ned Herman, when I first met him in the last century, a long time ago, so I met him in the 1980s, he talked about the whole brain model being an organizing principle. And I said, oh, yes, yeah, I know what you mean. I didn't know what he meant. I certainly didn't understand it, for a long, long time. The power of the whole brain model is that, as Farhad was explaining, it's an organizing principle. It's a way of looking at the world, right? And right now, we need a way of looking at the world. Before this, I was on a webinar done by I think he's a Swedish man. He's a futurist. And he was imagining that it's 2025 and was looking back at now. And it was an exercise to say, what have we missed? If we looked at the world now, we think we know what's going on, but we don't. So he was using a technique of sort of looking backwards. This organizing principle, I think, allows us to look at the world now and begin to make sense of it. That's the power of an organizing principle. Now, I guess Farhad has mentioned it. This evening's sort of topic is uncertainty. And yeah, my world came to an end
We just
6 weeks
experienced
ago.
it.
Yes. And in fact, on the weekend, I was sitting at this desk.
I think approximately the same time in Pakistan.
Okay, yes. Well, this weekend I was sitting at my desk and I pulled out a drawer and I looked inside the drawer and there were some things that 6 weeks ago were of enormous value. and today are of no value. I have a passport, can't use it. I have a Qantas frequent flyer card, can't use it. I have a bus pass, can't use it. So much, of what we knew only a few weeks ago has now changed. So how do you make sense, not only of now, but as this futurist was saying, of, tomorrow? And that's where this organizing principle comes in. And as Farhad probably said, you can use it to look at anything. We use it to look at our clients, because we need to interact with our clients in a different way. Banks, IT, finance, computer companies, they're into the logic and the analysis. Whereas in the red quadrant, by contrast, customer service, helping professions, and so on. In the green, what we call councils, local government, logistics, where it's all process and sequence. And in the yellow, yes, it says advertising and design. It was really interesting today as well with this webinar I was on. The guy who ran it talked about the 10 major trends in a COVID-19 world. And the interesting thing was 10 out of 10 came from the yellow and the red. Everything that is happening in the world today, right now, if you look at it through the whole brain model, you can begin to make sense of it. And I'll give you just some quick examples. He mentioned the importance of local now as opposed to international. Suddenly, we're talking to the people next to us. So, local is important. He talked about the, oh, that was right. Another thing he talked about was the essence of people, not their status. In other words, you got some world leaders who are full of position, but they have no power. They have no essence in them. And it was an interesting way of looking at the world. So that's the organizing principle, and to say the industries that we work with. Yeah. If we look at the next slide. Yeah, and let's put them all on. Yes. I'm not sure of the world that you are in, but one of the reasons why in Australia the internet is so slow at night is that everybody's at home on Netflix downloading TV shows. So the internet is slow. Your thinking preference will have a big impact on what you choose to watch. So as you can see, you've got science shows, factual shows, the news, you've got documentary, you've got romance, you've got science fiction. So a strong correlation again between thinking preference and what you like to watch. Okay, in Australia, we have a lot of houses that have 2 televisions because he likes to watch one show and she likes to watch a different show. Make sense? Okay, business, and there are 4 words.
Yes. So depending on our likings, based on thinking patterns, we would also go into what
Correct.
we like to watch.
Yes. Okay, can we have there are 4 words on the business slide. Excellent. Yes. Now, again, you can look at a business, right, and different people run their businesses different ways. Some people are very concerned about the numbers, about the balance sheet. That's all that matters. Price. Other people are very concerned about the process. Got to get things right, the right time, the right place, and so forth. Other people, as we know, it's all about the customer. It's all about the relationship. And still others in the yellow, it's all about the strategy. What we would say is, if you're going to run a successful business, you actually need to address all 4. You've got to have an eye on all 4, especially in a time of crisis, which we're in. So the key, I guess, to what we do, and this whole brain thinking and the concept of an organizing principle, is the next slide. It's a way of seeing the world. And we all see the world differently. And sometimes we respect that difference. And of course, other times, we don't. Now, I don't know about you, but me, I'm suffering from uncertainty. I had a pretty good business. It was going along really well. We just had our best 3 quarters in terms of revenue. January, February, March, we were over budget by about 10%. We were doing really well. And then, lockdown. Now, the uncertainty is even worse, because I could have perhaps accepted, if the business imploded because of me, or if I'd made bad decisions or anything else. But COVID-19 is just something else. So the level of uncertainty, for me, is really big. Also, the level of uncertainty about what is going to happen is big. So how can I plan my business? How can I say what's going to happen in January? And that's where the eye, the lens, a way of looking at the world, I think, can be very powerful. So what I want to do tonight is give you a very simple but powerful tool that you can use in your business, right, for dealing with uncertainty, or, as we've said, for making sense of your world. And the only way you can do that, I believe, is by looking at your world from, where am I, this way and this way and that way and that way and even that way, until you see it perhaps slightly differently. Now, if you can do that on your own, woo, that's terrific. I need help, because I'm very strong in the red and the yellow. I'm not very strong in the blue and the green. So I'm putting together a team There'll be about 5 of us. And if we're good, we will cover it all. So, next slide. This is what I use. And it's a very simple concept called the think about. Think about it. Now, if you were going to, let's say, throw a birthday party, for your, doesn't matter who, for your daughter, there are probably 4 things that are important for your birthday party. One is the cost, which is blue. One is the time it's going to start, and the agenda, which is green. Who you're going to ask, which is red. And the theme, are you going to have a clown or dress up, is 4. And if you're going to throw a really good birthday party, then you need all 4. Now, a birthday party is simple, right? What happened to me was the business was going along and bang. So the next slide. So I did a think about lockdown. And I tried to look at the issue of being locked down from not one point of view, but from many points of view. And as you can see, in the A quadrant, it's all about faster and reliable internet. It's all about keeping up with the news and the facts. It's all about experts. It's about the economy and job loss. But I listened to a talk the other day from a British captain of a naval submarine. And he said lockdown is all about routine and planning and being organized. Right? The red quadrant is all about losing touch with people. And yet it's time for reflection. As opposed to the yellow quadrant, I want to get out. Right? So I hope you can see this is a very powerful way of making sense of your current world. Because again, I'm very strong in the yellow quadrant and I don't like being locked down. I don't being like locked in. I don't being like locked up.
Yeah.
So
what's very interesting is, Michael, on this one, I'm also an extreme yellow, and I could relate to each one of them, including recreate the business, thinking about creating some new products. And what's amazing is I just saw writing stories, and you just heard the e-playbook that I've written on Let's Tell Stories, and it's all about stories, and it's very natural. And by the for those of us who are listening to it, I had not seen the slide and determined what I had to do. I started doing it, and now I can see it on the slide.
Yes, yeah. Now, again, you're right. What I'm trying to do, I guess, is use this structure simply to bring a little bit of certainty. So you look at that and you go, yeah, it makes sense. It doesn't resolve it, but at least you can begin to accept it. So next slide. These come from the previous slide. For me personally, these were the big things, right? I'm frustrated by the internet. I'm spending too much time on these devices. I have to have, I'm not organized. I need to be. Right? I'm missing the family because we can't go and see them. And yeah, I want to fly anywhere. So again, all we're trying to do is,
day before.
is use it, say, to
No,
make sense.
I was just saying. Mhm.
Yep. Okay. Now, as I said, I was earlier today listening to this talk by this futurist, and he said you can't predict the future, but you can prepare for it. So you can't predict it, but you can prepare for it. And I thought, yeah, that was good. Now, the next slide is, and I did this the other day, there were about half a dozen of us.
Wow,
And
half a dozen.
yes, now I'm sure in your part of the world as well, you've heard the term the new normal.
Mm.
We're going to
Very
come
often.
out of, yes, we're going to come out of lockdown as a business into the new normal. What on earth is the new normal? I don't know. So we brainstormed again from the 4 different perspectives to say what is the new normal, right? And we can send this out to everybody. But certainly in Australia, data collection, analysis, prediction, forecasting is going to be an important part. Where's my phone? We've got a tracking app now, which Bluetooth phone to phone tracks people, so we know if you're near somebody who's been infected. So there's a real blue quadrant high-tech element to the future. In the green, I'm not going to be able to come and visit you without a passport, without lots of stamps and bits of paper and restrictions. So, I know Farhad, you used to just go to the airport and get on a plane.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the new reality. In the red, obviously, it's all about connection, we think. And the yellow is, yes, there's less travel, but there's more opportunity. And the last one is really interesting. In the yellow quadrant, I ran a meeting today and there were 2 pets in the meeting. There's a real push towards connection and humanity, and away from status towards what we call essence. Now, a couple of things. I don't know whether that you're looking at, think about the new normal, is right, because I can't predict the future. All right? But what I can do as a business person is use this framework to look into the future. So this is my best guess. This is what I think, where I do business, Australia, New Zealand, Southeast Asia. This is the business reality that I think I'm going to emerge into. Now, whether I'm right or wrong doesn't matter. I'm going to prepare for that business eventuality. Right? So I'm going to get ready and start getting for that. And as I come out of it, if I'm slightly wrong, it doesn't matter, because I can change, I can move. Right? I believe one of the buzzwords of today is pivot. I can pivot. I can turn a bit, right? But again, I'm using the whole brain model as what we call an organizing principle. And I'll stop in a minute. Back to uncertainty. I don't know what's going on now, let alone what is going to happen. Right? Therefore, if I can use this to help the individuals in my company, because I probably sent them home and they're struggling with that, if I can help them to make sense of their world, if I can help teams, now virtual teams, to make sense of what's going on, and if I can try and make sense of what's happening, right, then I can share this and we can move cautiously, one step forward. So that's kind of where I'm at. And the screen you're looking at is the world, I guess, that we think we're going to move into in, I don't know when, June, July, August, because we're going to be like, you have tortoises, we're going to be like a tortoise, and to stick his head out slowly and have a look. And we're not going to do very much. And then we're going to cautiously, I think, step forward and have another look. And then if something happens, we're going to pull our head back in a little bit. So it's going to be a little bit slow. But yeah, that's my take, a late half an hour take on uncertainty, and a really powerful tool, say, of helping everybody make sense of what's going on. So happy to take any questions or whatever. And again, as I say, I apologize for tumbling in late.
Great. What I think I will do is, yeah, and you're right, the internet has been a little cause of concern today in particular. Um, okay, great. And you know what's very interesting is some of the things that you highlighted just make so much sense, because what's actually happening is that when I'm looking at most of these things, and every week we keep on getting this on the practitioners forum, and what I see happening over there is that most of the things that come in are the things that I'm actually exploring and doing by myself. And today yesterday I saw this slide which says wants to fly. Day before yesterday, I put up a Facebook update which had passes of like travel, and you know what? And I don't see them, I don't miss it, but then I love to travel. What's very interesting is also you're very right about documentation. There is a prediction that very soon there'll be most of these things will become paperless. So how much of a passport will we carry? The documents is all a question. Noman Ayub is a very good friend of mine, and he's here on my special request. Noman, thank you for hanging in there in the beginning and being here. He says, so you meant to say that these perspectives covered, and I'll also build on the conversation that you and I were having, Noman. This is what Noman is saying. He works in the automobile industry. He's in the HR and learning and development. He says, so you mean to say that these perspectives covered here can be helpful identifying all stakeholders' perspective post-COVID world, like consumer behavior, leadership, investors, everyone?
Yes, and let me give you an example, and this is a pre-COVID example, and I only say that because it's in the healthcare industry, which in Australia is not good at the moment because of, I guess, infections with COVID-19. But it was interesting. If you think of a patient, right? A patient, is surrounded by a lot of people. And if it's a patient, in Australia where they had an accident, then you've got lots of stakeholders. You've got, say the business person, because this person had an accident, then you've got the person who owned the business responsible. You've got the person's partner and family, and they have a different relationship. You've got perhaps some insurance people. You've got the government and so forth. And everybody sees, right, the injured worker differently. So we've done a lot of work with the healthcare industry exactly on that issue about, when somebody's, doesn't matter what it is, somebody's in the middle. Who are all the stakeholders? and how does it affect their perspective, and how do you get consensus as well, because they all see it differently and they all fight for their positions. So yes, a very, very I guess important application. One other application about stakeholders is in mergers and acquisitions. Again, because there are lots of stakeholders and they see it differently. And post COVID-19, we're anticipating that there are going to be a lot of mergers and acquisitions, because there are going to be a lot of companies coming out that are a bit wobbly. And they're going to be, I think there could be some mergers and acquisitions, and therefore identifying the stakeholder perspectives, we think will be a big need in the next 6 months.
Just to add to that, I think that's a very holistic and very insightful reply as well. You're very right. I think so far the conversations that I've been having with people is that think alliances, but you're right. For large, medium companies, possibly you have a lot of opportunity for mergers and acquisitions. Just to add on to it, and maybe this is also my clarification. Noman, I'll build on your question. My understanding is, and you could correct me on this one, Michael. My understanding is that once you discover and you understand people and you understand people's thinking preferences, you can also create communication that best meets that kind of a thinking profile in a way that it influences the other person much more quicker. For example, let's just say you've done the profiling, and I know, Noman, that one of your, let's say, dealers or XYZ is a particular thinking profile, which is a high level of green, very little yellow, very little red, to some extent blue. Your communication and what you write to them would interestingly not be too much of a big picture and the opportunity and how cool this would look. You would lose that person in the first two. Let's say if you're writing an email, you'll lose that person in the first paragraph, primarily because it just doesn't connect. It's not the language that thinking would understand. However, if you go into the steps of what you're suggesting, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, maybe boring to you. Again, we've had that little conversation a couple of days back. Maybe a little boring to you. Michael, my guess of Noman is he's more towards the red and the bluish type and yellow, but definitely very, very little green. So while you, Noman, may be getting very bored writing it down, the impact would be very different. You think so, Michael? Have I justified the concept?
Yeah, perfectly. Yes. Yeah. Our thinking preferences have a huge impact on the way we communicate. Yes. And the way we listen. So it's the way I talk, but also it's the way I listen. And as you say, yeah.
Right.
It's like speaking another language.
Perfect. I had another question from a friend. I don't know if he's here or not. He was here right in the beginning. And I'll go to that question. I'll pick up another one right now. It says, can a greater sensory awareness give us a comfortable life? A very quick reply, who wants a comfortable life? My coach says something very interesting. Is that we are in the profession. Someone you would know this. He says, our job is to bring pain to the people who are in comfort and bring comfort to the people in pain. That's what consultants do in organizations.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
What a question. Can a greater sensory awareness give us a comfortable life? Let me answer it this way. Sometimes I wish I was totally unaware. Because then I would be unaware, of all the downside of life, the pain, the grievances, I just go through life like a bus, unaware of everything around me. And sometimes I think that'd be good. But of course, other times, I went for a walk today, and I don't know what the flower is, but there was a particular flower that had just come into bloom. Oh, the fragrance was beautiful. So, can a great sensory awareness give it a comfortable life? I mean, the great teachers of the world, Buddha and so forth, would say yes. But I mean, sometimes I feel pain a bit too much, I think.
Right.
That's a very deep, profound question.
It is.
Yeah,
Shaina has been one of our regular followers,
yeah,
and most of the
yeah,
time her questions are very insightful.
yeah. But I said the answer is yes. I
Okay.
mean, and I say yes because, and I was only thinking about this today. When I was growing up, my best friend, right, was my dog.
Hmm.
I grew up with him. He grew up with me. We spoke the same language. We were a great pair, and it was the sensory awareness that his nose had and I had, that so yes, but
Yeah.
you know,
Okay. Yeah. So in short, Shaina, your reply is yes. And again, when we go through the 116 statements on the HBDI, we do have, it also links to the hobbies and
yes,
education. So a lot of it does have an impact.
yes, yeah, and
Another.
I think that's another answer to the question, that the whole brain model hopefully represents, the complete, if you like, array of thinking, and it's all valid. So sensory awareness is valid, right? But also numerical financial awareness is valid, and it's probably the answer is the balance.
Right.
Um,
We have a question from Noman Ayub again, and this is, by the way, a question another friend of mine also wanted to know, and we said,
yeah.
I did not volunteer the answer. I said we'll discuss it after he's gone through this one. But can we do such type of assessment while recruiting people?
Okay. Interesting question. The question reads here: can we use such type assessments? Now, lots of recruiting people use assessments, but most of the assessments are designed so that the intent of the question is hidden.
Hmm.
So you don't actually know what the question is asking, right? And there's typically a right or a wrong answer. Now, the HBDI, the Hermann Brain Dominance Instrument, was designed a very specific way. And that is, it measures preference. So preference simply means I have a preference to use my right hand. Does it mean I can't use my left? No, I'm pretty good with this. It just means I prefer this. It means I prefer soccer over hockey. That's all it means. It's preference. Now, so that's the first thing. There is a link between preference and competence. In other words, if you prefer to play soccer, then you're probably better at it than you are at hockey because you don't prefer hockey. So yes, there's a link between preference and competence. However, and this is the recruiting bit, however, just because I have a low preference of something, it doesn't necessarily mean I have a low competence. Now, I mean, I'll look at me. I have a low preference in our whole brain model in blue and green. So I have a low preference in, financial technical. I have a low preference in organizing and controlling. I have a high preference interpersonal, high preference, imaginative, innovative. Given that, though, I'm pretty good at running a company. So if you use the HBDI to select me to run your company, you might say, no, because he's high over here and he's nothing over there. So that's the problem with using a preference instrument for recruiting, because the HBDI doesn't say you can or can't do something, right? Because I'm pretty good at doing things that I don't like doing. In other words, when it comes to budget time in the company, I can do a pretty good budget. It just doesn't turn me on, but I'm good at it. So I'm much better at other things. So that's the problem with using the HBDI with recruiting. However, I always use the HBDI with onboarding, because I need to know your thinking preference. So once I've selected you, I can custom design your onboarding, your training, to speed you up and get you to job mastery quicker than ever before. That's where it works. But will I say to Farhad, you could never be a criminal lawyer? No, because he'd probably be a good one, but he'd be intuitive rather than analytical, but he could do it. So that's the danger about using it for recruiting, where you are making a definitive yes or no decision.
Great. Perfect. And I think I'm so glad that it came out, and I love the analogy
Yep.
around it, because Noman and myself were talking, and that one of the things we discussed was that it's actually, so it's like when you have the team, when you know exactly the kind of thinking preference you want in the team, this tool works like magic. So, for example, if I need to get SOPs being created, there's a limit to how many yellow thinking, preferred thinking people I would have. Because these are SOPs, these are steps. I can't have somebody who is all over the place. It's like when there is fire, who would you take an advice from? Somebody who's more tilted towards the green or the yellow? The yellow would come up with the most weirdest of idea. May work. You don't know. The competence is different. However, would definitely not understand that there are steps to be taken, and those steps have value in them. And something that I think just before you came on live, Michael, one of the things you also said is, interestingly enough, people could actually be working in jobs which do not necessarily connect to their thinking preference. As a
Yes.
result of which, the line managers would always find them demotivated, and they were working on trying to push them to work because they can do it, they have the competence, but the thinking around it is just not natural.
That's right. Yeah. And just on that, we've all preference versus, I guess, avoidance or lack of preference. We've all had days where we've worked really hard, right? And you go home and you're pumped. It's been a buzz. It's been terrific. And you've done 10 hours straight. That's preference. We've also done days where you drag yourself home, and your partner says, what sort of day have you had? And you go, right? That's you've done a great day, but that's avoidance. It's taken more effort and oomph, but you can still do it. So it's understanding that dynamic.
Great. So I hope that answers as well. So I think thank you very much, Michael. Once again, it was great having you. I don't see any other more questions over here, so I think we're good to close. Um, my apology for the little
Oh,
uncertainty that happened in the beginning, but I think that's exactly what this program is. That's where the uncertainty comes in. But the important thing is, you notice we did manage to find a way
Yeah,
out, and we did something, and we
yeah,
pulled it through, and there was a lot of determination.
yeah.
And I think, if
Well,
anything else, the COVID-19 time demand. Sorry, yeah, go ahead, Michael.
no,
You
I
say
was just
something?
going to say that this is the second one of these we've done. The first one was on trust. The second one is on uncertainty. So I arrived halfway through. The third one, I might not trust you as much.
Yeah.
I'll
So
arrive an hour early.
yeah. It happens, and but I think the good thing is that thank you for taking the time out. I think even this
Right.
time is very very useful. It is very late in the evening in your time. It's about 8:15 p.m. your time. You're filled with
Yeah.
energy and, as always, full of life. I think these insights were very very useful, and to some extent, I think the good news is that I feel that a lot of people in Pakistan are now intrigued by the HBDI model, and they're looking forward to seeing how it could actually help them move forward. So it's, again, as I said to
Okay.
many of
Terrific.
my friends, it's a brilliant tool, and it's a continuous journey. And I was just saying that, even when the things that we find out as practitioners, we discuss it with our clients, people who've gone through it, and these are not things that just start and finish. They're very timely. I mean, the fact that we just discussed what kind of thinking would you have when you're going through COVID-19 just proves how powerful this entire concept is. So with that,
Yes.
thank you very much. Thank you once again, Michael. I hope that we do one more on another very interesting topic when you
Oh,
got something much more exciting again. But it was wonderful. Thank you very much, everybody, for logging in. We do have, by the way, something very interesting coming up later in the afternoon. That is actually, and Michael, you'll be interested. This is like, when you said the yellow brain creates something exciting, something new. What we realize is everybody's speaking to adults, but nobody's really speaking to teenagers. So today at 4:30
ah,
Pakistan time, we've got some teenagers coming in, and what we're doing is we're doing a little show with them. So we've got three teenagers today, and we are asking them, what does gratitude mean? Why do we need gratitude? And how do you show gratitude? And the best part is they'll not be told anything. We just want to find out
uh,
what is happening in their mind. It's an experiment. It's part of the yellow thinking moments. We want to see how it pans out. Today we are doing this. We get calling another three people later on, because what I've realized is they have so much to share. But
yes.
in amid all of this COVID-19, nobody's really listening to the teenagers. So my request to everybody, please feel free to join in. Michael, feel free to watch it later on if you want. I know it'll be late at in Sydney at that time. But once again, thank you very much, and make sure you subscribe and
Okay.
click the icon button. Thank you. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye.